She looked at my boots first, then my jacket. Then she said it loud enough for the whole table to hear. "Somebody tell the help he's not on shift tonight." That was Jalen Fox, my son's bride. 2 days before her wedding, and she just called me the help in front of 40 people at a dinner I was paying for. Before I tell you how that night ended with her name in a police report, tell me where you're watching from in the comments, and hit subscribe if you think respect isn't something you can buy. My name is Alfie Williams. I'm 68 years old. I buried my wife Diamond 4 years ago, and since then it's just been me, this town, and my son Zachary. Traverse City, Michigan. Everybody around here knows the Birchwood Inn, the lake house venue with the big wraparound porch and the boathouse out back. Diamond and I built that place with our own hands starting in 1988, poured the foundation ourselves. I still cut the grass out front some mornings just because I like the smell of it. Nobody at that rehearsal dinner knew I owned it, not one person. To them, I was just Zachary's father in a flannel shirt who showed up in a 15-year-old pickup truck. Jalen Fox was 29. Her family had real money, the kind that gets you a table at any restaurant without a reservation. She had a laugh that carried across a room, and eyes that measured you like a price tag the second you walked in. I sat near the back, at a table nobody wanted. I wore the same navy blazer I'd worn to Diamond's funeral. Clean, pressed, old. Across the room, Zachary sat next to Jaylene, laughing at something one of her cousins said. He saw me. He looked away. Jaylene's voice came clear over the music. "I told Zachary his dad needs to sit somewhere in the back tomorrow. I'm not having a man who looks like a gas station attendant in my wedding photos." Her bridesmaids laughed with her. I didn't move. I didn't say a word. I just kept eating. Here's what none of them knew. 2 months before, Zachary showed up at my door, practically in tears, saying the wedding costs had spiraled and he was drowning. To save him the embarrassment, I quietly wired $60,000 to cover the venue, the caterer, the open bar, all of it. Zachary told Jaylene's family he'd paid for it himself with a bonus from work. I let him keep that lie. I thought I was protecting his pride. After dinner, Zachary caught my arm and pulled me into the hallway by the kitchen. For one stupid second, I thought he was going to thank me. Instead, he said, "Dad, we need another 12 grand. Jaylene wants the upgraded suite for the honeymoon. I need it by Friday." I stared at him. "I just gave you $60,000, Zachary." He ran a hand through his hair. "You don't even spend your money. What are you saving it for?" "I'm not giving you another dime," I said. His face changed, went cold. "Jaylene said you'd be like this. She said you're getting stingy in your old age. Keep your money, old man. Just don't expect a seat at the head table tomorrow." He walked back into the party and left me standing there alone. I needed air, so I pushed through the service door into the kitchen. The second I stepped in, the noise stopped. The head chef, a big guy named Marcus, dropped his towel and came right over. "Mr. Williams, everything all right, sir? Anything you need?" That's the other thing nobody at that party knew. I don't just rent out the Birchwood Inn for weddings. I own the whole hospitality company that runs it. Every cook, every server, every manager. My name's just not on the sign out front. I told Marcus I was fine, just needed a minute. He nodded and went back to work. I stood there catching my breath when the kitchen door burst open again. Jaylene stormed in, red-faced, holding an empty wine glass. She marched straight up to a young server, couldn't have been older than 19, and got right in her face. "This is warm," Jaylene snapped, shoving the glass into the girl's chest. "Are you people even trained? My father-in-law is paying you to actually do your job." The girl's eyes filled with tears. Jaylene turned on her heel and walked out like nothing happened. I looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at me. Neither one of us said a word. But I already knew. Tomorrow, at my son's wedding, in my building, with my staff, somebody was about to learn a very expensive lesson about who they were talking to. I finished my water, set the glass down slow, and walked back out into the party with a smile on my face. Let them enjoy tonight. It was the last easy one they were gonna get. The morning of the wedding, I got there early. Sat in the lobby of my own building like a stranger waiting for a table. Jalen walked out of the bridal suite in her robe, phone against her ear, complaining to someone about her makeup artist running late. She saw me and hung up. "Alfie, we need to get something straight before the ceremony." She crossed her arms. "You're sitting in the back row, not the front. I already told the photographer." "The father of the groom usually sits up front, Jalen." "Not when he shows up looking like he mows lawns for a living." Her voice was flat, bored, like she was talking to a delivery driver. "Zachary told me you wouldn't help with the honeymoon suite, so you can sit in the back with the second cousins or you cannot come in at all. Your choice." I didn't argue. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a plain white envelope, held it out to her. Her eyes lit up. She thought it was the 12 grand. She snatched it, smiling like she'd won something. "Glad you came to your senses. Sit in the back, keep quiet, don't embarrass us." I nodded and walked toward the banquet hall. Inside that envelope was a blank check with one line written on it in my handwriting. "Respect is earned, not bought." She'd find that out during the reception. The ballroom looked incredible. 12-foot windows looking out over the lake, string lights, a live band, everything Jalen wanted, everything I paid for. I sat at table 14, in the far corner by the kitchen doors, exactly where she'd put me. Every time a server pushed through those doors, hot air and the smell of grilled whitefish hit my table. Nobody sitting with me even looked my way. I watched Zachary at the head table, laughing with his groomsmen, holding a glass of scotch that cost more than his first car payment. He looked happy. He looked like a man performing being rich for a room full of people who only cared about his money. Around 8 o'clock, the band slowed down. Couples moved to the dance floor. That's when Jalen was weaving through the tables towards me, holding the envelope in her fist so tight her knuckles were white. She leaned down next to my ear so nobody else could hear over the music. "What is this supposed to be? A joke?" She slammed the envelope on the table, the check slid halfway out. "Zachary told me you were losing it, that your mind's going, but this isn't losing it, Alfie. This is just pathetic." I wiped my mouth with my napkin, didn't raise my voice. "You've got an expensive party going on around you, Jalen, a party you didn't pay for. I'd go enjoy it." Her face went red under all that makeup. "Don't talk down to me like I'm one of your construction buddies. You've been an embarrassment since you walked in that door. Zachary is ashamed of you. He told me himself." I looked past her, toward the head table. Zachary was watching us. He saw his bride leaning over me, furious. He turned back to his friends and laughed at something. Didn't move, didn't say a word in my defense. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stood with my own son. "You done?" I asked her, calm as anything. "I'm done wasting my breath on you," she snapped, straightening up. "You're gonna sit here, keep your mouth shut, eat the free food, and then you're gonna leave. Actually, don't wait. Get out now. You're an embarrassment and you're not welcome here." The band kept playing. A few people nearby had gone quiet, watching. I stood up slow, buttoned my jacket, looked down at her. I've got a foot on her, and she took a small step back without meaning to. "You're right. I don't belong at this table." Her smile came back, ugly and satisfied. "Finally, now go." "Okay, but I'm taking some people with me." I turned my back on her and walked, not toward the exit she was pointing at, straight towards the kitchen doors. Behind me, I heard her laugh, thinking she'd won. She had no idea what was coming through those doors next. The kitchen was loud right up until I stepped through the door. Then it went quiet. Marcus wiped his hands on his apron and came straight over. "Mr. Williams, what do you need?" "Zachary and his bride just told me to leave my own building," I said, "so I'm going to do exactly that. But before I go, I want every station shut down, Music off, bar closed. Staff walks out with me, full pay for the weekend, every one of them. Marcus didn't blink. He grabbed his radio. "All staff, this is Marcus. Code black on the Williams wedding. Drop what you're doing. We're walking." I stepped back out into the ballroom and stood near the dance floor. Raised my hand, snapped my fingers once. The band leader saw it. The music cut mid-song, just stopped. Guests turned around, confused, half laughing, thinking it was some surprise bit. Then a waiter set down a full tray of steak in the middle of a table and walked off. Another one put down a tray of champagne and did the same. One by one, every person working that reception untied their apron and walked toward the door. The bartender locked the liquor cabinet with a loud click and walked away mid-pour. Jalen spun around, watching her whole wedding empty out in front of her. "What is happening? Somebody bring out the next course. Where is everyone going?" A server passing by said, "Ma'am, this event's been shut down by the owner. We're leaving the building." "The owner? Zachary paid for this. Zachary, fix this right now." Zachary ran over, pulling out his phone, calling the wedding planner, who was already walking out the front door with her clipboard under her arm. I walked toward the exit with 45 staff members falling in line behind me. Didn't look back once. "Alfie!" Jalen screamed across the room, her voice cracking with something new, real fear. "Zachary, tell them you come back! Zachary, make them come back!" Zachary chased a few steps after me. Dad, please, wait! Why are they listening to you?" I kept walking, pushed open the front doors and stepped into the cold night air. Behind me, I heard the last switch flip. Every light in that ballroom went dark at once. I got in my truck, started the engine, and drove home. My phone lit up before I even hit the highway. Zachary. I let it ring out. It lit up again 30 seconds later. Then again. I didn't answer that night. I wanted him to sit in the dark and think about what he'd done. 2 days later, the mail came. Regular bills, nothing unusual, until I got to a thick envelope from my bank. Not the business one, my personal one, the one Diamond and I opened back in 1985. Certified letter, loan department. I opened it standing at my kitchen counter. It was a notice confirming approval on a $150,000 second mortgage against the cabin, Diamond's cabin, the one her grandfather built, the one she made me promise on her deathbed I'd never sell. I flipped to the signature page. My name, my signature, except I never signed anything like that in my life. I stood there staring at it, coffee going cold in my hand, and I thought back 2 weeks. Zachary showing up unannounced, saying his printer broke, asking to use my home office for 20 minutes. That's when it hit me. He wasn't printing anything. He was in my file cabinet. I sat at my kitchen table with that loan paper in front of me for a long time. Didn't yell, didn't throw anything. What I felt was colder than anger. It sat in my chest like ice. Walking out of a wedding was a family fight. This was a crime. My son had forged my name on a federal loan document and used my late wife's cabin, the one thing I promised her I'd never touch, to pull out $150,000. I already had a good idea where that money went. Straight into paying for the condo he and Jalen were living in, the one he told her family he bought outright with his own money. I called my lawyer, Miles Foster, that same morning. "Miles, I need you to drop everything today." "What happened?" "Zachary forged my signature on a second mortgage against Diamond's cabin, $150,000. I've got the paperwork in my hand right now." Long pause on the other end. "Howard, Alfie, that's not a family matter anymore. That's bank fraud, identity theft. Are you sure you want to go down this road with your own son?" "I'm sure," I said. "Start a full audit on him. Everything. Every account, every card, every debt. I want to know exactly what I'm dealing with before I say one more word to him." By the next afternoon, Miles called back. "Alfie, it's bad.
He's maxed out 7 credit cards, 65 grand in debt. No savings, no investments. The crypto money he bragged about doesn't exist. He's broke, completely broke. That mortgage was the only thing keeping his fake life running. And Jalen? Miles hesitated. That's the part you need to sit down for. We tracked the $80,000 you gave them for the wedding. Zachary put it all in a joint account like he was supposed to. But over 8 weeks, she moved $25,000 of it into a private account under her maiden name, labeled as vendor fees. It was never going to any vendor. I gripped the phone tighter. She was stealing from him before the wedding even happened. Looks that way, Miles said. She saw a guy pretending to be rich and took her cut before the whole thing collapsed. I stood in my kitchen and let that settle. 2 people who spent months mocking me for driving an old truck and wearing a flannel shirt, and neither one of them had 2 honest dollars between them. They'd built their whole marriage on stealing from each other. Set up a meeting, I told Miles. My office, tomorrow morning. Both of them. Tell Zachary it's about settling the mortgage quietly. Don't mention the audit. You want to do this in person? I want them in the same room when they find out about each other. Let them see exactly who they married. That night, my phone rang. Zachary. Dad, the bank called me. They said something about a fraud flag on the property. Said the mortgage got frozen. What is going on? You have to call them and fix it. I kept my voice flat and calm. I can't fix it, Zachary, because it's not a mistake. I know about the forged signature. Silence on the line. Dead silence. Dad? I can explain. 9 o'clock tomorrow, my office. Bring Jalen. I hung up before he could say another word.
Nobody moved for a few seconds after the cuffs came out. Zachary just stared at them like they belonged to someone else's life, like this couldn't possibly be happening to him. Detective Reyes stepped around the table first and stood behind Zachary's chair. Zachary Williams, you're under arrest for bank fraud and forgery. Stand up, please. Zachary didn't argue. He didn't even try. He stood up slow, like his legs weren't sure they'd hold him, and put his hands behind his back without being told. The cuffs clicked shut. That sound filled the whole room, and nobody said a word for a second. Jaylene shot up out of her chair, backing toward the window like she could put distance between herself and what was happening. This has nothing to do with me. He forged the signature, not me. I never touched that mortgage. No, Miles said, calm, opening his folder. You just moved $25,000 of stolen wedding money into an offshore account under your maiden name. That's wire fraud, Mrs. Williams. The DA's office already has the routing numbers pulled up. She looked at Zachary, waiting for him to jump in and defend her. He wouldn't even look at her. You knew I was broke, he said, quiet at first, then louder, angrier. You knew, and you still took money out from under me. You let me forge my dad's signature so you could have your condo, and this whole time you had your own stash hidden in the Caymans. You lied to me about being rich, she snapped back. I protected myself. That's what smart people do. You're a thief, he said. You're a criminal, she shot back. At least I didn't go to prison for it. I sat there and let them go at each other. I didn't feel good watching it. I didn't feel bad either. I just felt like a man watching 2 people finally see each other clearly for the first time in their whole relationship and hating everything they saw. Detective Reyes led Zachary toward the door. At the threshold, my son turned around and looked at me. Not angry anymore, just hollowed out. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't say anything back. There wasn't much left to say that hadn't already been said by a forged signature and a stack of bank records. Jaylene wasn't arrested that same day. Her charges took another 2 weeks while the DA finished building the wire fraud case against her. But she walked out of that office with nothing. No husband, no condo, no money. Just her name sitting next to his in a case file. 6 months went by after that. Zachary took a plea deal. 2 years, likely out in 14 months with good behavior, plus full restitution on the cabin loan. I didn't visit him first. Took me a long while to even decide if I wanted to. Jaylene took her own deal to stay out of federal prison. She lost every dollar she'd stolen and still owed her half of the wedding penalty from the night I shut the whole reception down. Last I heard, she was working retail 2 states away, sending back a little at a time. I got Diamond's cabin cleared of that mortgage. Took about 3 months of paperwork, phone calls, and a very patient bank officer, but it's mine again, clean the way she left it to me. I drove up there in October and sat on the same dock we used to sit on every summer together. I didn't feel like celebrating anything. I just felt like I'd finally protected the one thing she asked me to protect before she passed. I still run the Birchwood Inn, still cut my own grass on Saturday mornings, still drive the same old truck, even though half this town now knows I own the building their kids got married in. None of that changes how I dress or how I choose to live. Money was never the point for me. It never was for Diamond either. Zachary calls sometimes now from a payphone at the facility. Short calls, careful ones, like he's figuring out what he's allowed to say to me. He asked me once why I did all of it. The audit, the lawyer, letting a detective walk him out of my own office in handcuffs in front of the woman he married. I told him the truth. I didn't do any of it to punish him. I did it because the moment he forged my name to steal from his mother's cabin, he stopped being a son who made a mistake and became a man who committed a crime against his own family. I couldn't protect both versions of him, not anymore. One of them had to go. He didn't have much of an answer for that. I don't know what happens when he gets out. I don't know if we rebuild something real, or if this is just what's left of us, 2 short calls a month and a debt he's still working off. I've made peace with either outcome, because I can't control which one he chooses. What I know for certain is this: love was never supposed to mean covering up for somebody no matter what they do. Sometimes the most loving thing a father can do is step back and let the consequences land exactly where they belong. I built a business out of nothing. I buried my wife. I thought I raised a good man. Turns out I raised somebody who needed to hit bottom before he'd ever tell me the truth. That's a hard thing to sit with as a father, but I'd rather live with the truth than keep bankrolling a lie. That's the whole story. Take from it whatever you need.